Please welcome Jeff Woods and Nikki Sixx.
How can you love this face?
He was there when I really woke up.
You mentioned a couple of the things you do, Nikki. You didn't mention all of them. Photographer is one that a lot of people are excited about right now.
Yes, thank you.
The record, the book, the two go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Tell us why you chose to bring out the subject matter that you've chosen to bring out.
Well, you know, 6 a.m. was working on a second record, and the only direction we really had was to just elevate ourselves as songwriters. And most of our influences are from the 70s, and I still feel that that was some of our best songwriting, 60s and 70s, but really the 70s we hit a really amazing pinnacle, I think, for songwriting. But we didn't have anything really to tie it in with besides life experiences, and I was going through an experience where I was doing a lot of photography, and I was trying to explain it in text. And the concept of doing a book of photography needed explanation because I'm not a known photographer at this point. So I wanted to sort of dig into what each photo meant, and I didn't realize I would end up writing 500 pages without a ghostwriter. Then I had the problem of having this sort of War and Peace novel with all this photography, which was it was overwhelming, and I was able to look at Motley Crue and realize that a lot of what I pushed for in Motley Crue was because of this same way that I see life. And it was coming out in the photography, and it was coming out in the stories, it was coming out in my personal experiences as a teenager, and whether it was the rebellion or the passion for fashion, so to speak, always. It all sort of converged, and that was, as we were writing this record, this is long, right? It started to affect the songwriting with me and James and DJ, and then the songwriting started to influence me as a photographer, and we started realizing that on one level or another, each one of us, as the three members of a band, felt a bit outcasted. And I don't think that's unusual for human beings, especially when you're a teenager. But there were things that we did to help make that happen, which was to have our own opinions, stand up for things that we believed in, which made you even more on the fringe of what society would deem the correct way of thinking, correct way of looking, correct way of conducting yourself. And there's a lot of really important messages that get sent to people that are sometimes fucked up messages, and I was able to look at my photography and realize what some of that meant.
Some of the words that fans have used to describe your photos: fantastic, deep, strange, disturbing, bleak, certainly beautiful. If you could have one word to kind of summarize to someone who hadn't seen any of the photos, my photos are...
In one word.
Yeah.
You just saw my last thing I said. One word. That's hard.
Imagine someone, if you like, who can't see.
Who can't see?
Yeah. What's the emotion that you would want to convey to them about what it is you do with your photography?
Honest. That's it. And for me, it's a bit. I feel honored to photograph people because I get to pull out of them something that I know that they're sharing only with me. I've had people break down in tears in photo sessions, and it's not because I'm yelling, throwing things. It's literally because the connection gets so close that they spill their truth, and it comes out in the photos. Some of the photography with like St. Goddess Bunny was some of the most moving stuff, and we documented everything. That's the other thing that's going to be coming, is there's going to be this sort of docu-series thing that'll be able to introduce to you who I got to see. I think that's important because you do ask me what is with these photos, and you're going to get words, but when you have them explain their life, it's really beautiful.
Kroll is a great photographer, did a book called The Beauty Parade, and when I saw some of the images you've created, it reminded me of that. To some, they'll be disturbing. To some people on Facebook, evidently, 267,000 followers of Nikki on Facebook. I don't know of anyone with more. I was blown away by the exchange of ideas between you and the followers, specifically around the idea of what is disturbing, what is appropriate on Facebook. And some people have had photos that you've done pulled from their Facebook.
It was interesting because I didn't think about it. I used to really love MySpace, and I kind of fought against Facebook. It didn't seem creative enough for me. And then I was sort of left hanging out there, and I was only really using Twitter as a way to kind of just do what everybody does with Twitter, and just kind of little text messages to the world. And I was enjoying sending a lot of positive messages, and finally decided to catch up with everybody else and get into Facebook. And so I uploaded a couple of my photos because there's really not, at least for me at the time when I first started, there was really not an area where I could have a gallery, and it was all about that for me, right? And so I uploaded some photos and they were deleted. And I was sent notices telling me that to not do that. And so of course I did that again. Shocking. And again, I got another notice. And so then I put up a photo of a transgender that I shot. And this is a man who's turning into a woman, but is stuck in between, so he's still not a woman. And I put the photo of him up, and he has breasts, and they pulled that and said no female nudity. And I said, okay, we're onto something here. Someone's asleep at the wheel. So then I put the 6 a.m. single up, which has no nudity, but it does have a model who half of her face is melted off. And she's extremely beautiful in my opinion, and they then deleted that and told me if I do it again that they're going to delete my account. And I reached out to my lawyers and I said I don't really feel that that's fair to stop somebody from trying to spread a positive message when they're not even really manning the ship. It feels to me that they're allowing photos of I would think inappropriate photos of very young girls and boys, a lot of them in their teens, but they're telling me that we can't put up this photo of a single that is on Amazon and iTunes. So I kind of just did a little blast out to the fans and wanted their input. It was amazing because 200,000 fans all changed their profile to that picture. It was a pretty nice fuck you. So then they're not worried about what I'm doing, but they're starting to delete fan pages. And James Michael, lead singer from 6 a.m. calls me and goes, they deleted the photo from my thing. So I don't know, I started feeling a little bit frustrated and kind of wanted to reach out maybe to Mark Zuckerberg and talk to him, but I decided to post some half-naked photos of myself last night since they're allowed to have teenagers on there. I'm an adult, so, and they don't seem to have a problem with that, so I'm very confused. I just know that this is an interesting situation. I love the way the fans have all sort of bonded together and understanding the message behind the lives of the beautiful people. And that it's not really about your outside, it is about your inside, And it is a bit of a cliche, but I think it's one that needs to be used right now, a lot.
It's a real statement about the subjectivity involved in looking at images, because an image of that versus an image of, say, a hardcore Republican, which might be disturbing to some of us, it's not resolved yet, and you're gonna kind of carry it through and see where it goes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think in the end, you have a really big corporation. They're not a public company. They're privately owned. But there's so many moderators and people that work underneath the actual owners of a company that big. So I understand. I think it would be an interesting conversation to have with with Mark Zuckerberg, even on my radio show, where I like to have debates about stuff like this, because I would love to be told I'm wrong. I mean, I don't have a problem with being wrong. I've done that a lot. But somebody has to look at the issue and see what's going on here, because maybe Facebook is not the place for art. Maybe there's other places for art, but maybe it's also not a place for, a version of child pornography either.
They give you a photo gallery, so we should be able to post photos, right?
Yeah.
Nikki, The Dirt was ghostwritten by Neil Strauss, and the interview portions of Heroin Diaries largely compiled by Ian Gittins. This is a book that you've done in your own pen, at your own keyboard. You sit at the computer late at night and basically come up with the thoughts of the day.
This is gonna hurt? Or what?
The new book, yeah.
Yeah.
This is you. This is you out naked in the cold, doing your own thing without the help of other writers.
I didn't want to use a ghostwriter, and it's a lot more work than I thought. I mean, it's a lot of work to write a book. I really appreciate that in other writers, now.
Were there any that you were inspired by that you said, I want to emulate sort of the style of?
I write in a tempo that is very much a Beat Generation style writer. That's just who influenced me the most. And I love the tempo of like Jack Kerouac, and I love the tempo of Allen Ginsberg. I just love the way it rambles, but in time to itself. And I was able to just go off into this land of doing that, and ended up, hundreds and hundreds more pages than are needed in a book, probably some tirades and such. But I think that's important, to just be super creative and then kind of come back and find out what the real message was, and then talking to my friends and giving manuscripts to people and having them give me feedback, and then found a great editor, and he was able to give me some good direction. But I actually wrote the whole thing myself, which I'm very proud of. I think fans deserve that. I think it's a bit not fair, when you buy a book and it's from that artist, but they didn't write it. I don't want to do that anymore.
Great Canadian drummer named Neil Peart described writing, or the style of writing that he had to decide what the reader needs to know. What did you reveal that you thought everyone needed to know that you hadn't revealed in past books?
Well, I mean, not being a professional writer, I didn't have an outline. I didn't really have an idea what I was doing. I was basically trying to do self-therapy, I think, and just trying to figure out what a lot of this stuff meant. And in real time, as I was writing it, the plot sort of came out. It's an interesting way to write. I would like to try the other way, where I have a beginning and end, and I just fill it in, But this way, it was just all over the place and crazy. And I would do a photo session, and then I would spend 100 pages writing about what that photo session meant to me, and what about the interaction was. And then I would write something, and then I would have to go to a photo session, because that was something that happened from my childhood, and I needed to sort of resurrect it.
One fed the other.
It did. It fed it, and that's how the 6 a.m. album came to be.
You talk about writing as a therapeutic device, more so than music? Same? Different?
Music is hard as a lyricist, because you only have a certain amount of words. And Vince would always tell me, why do you gotta put so many words? And Shout at the Devil is a great example. He's like, why is there so many fucking words? I go, because I got a lot to fucking say. And he'd go, okay, but can you, like, in some future songs, like, try to... And I was always trying to jam as much in there. So I think as a lyricist, working with James is a great example, because he's so in control of where the melody goes and where he's going to bring his voice to, that I'm able to sort of let go a little bit and let the song be a simpler message, but having the book to accompany it, and get to go off. And I don't know if that's something we'll do in the future or not with 6 a.m. I mean, we didn't really plan on doing a book and then a soundtrack to a book and then a book of photography and then sort of a soundtrack to a book of photography and a documentary. But I mean, I don't know, I'm starting to kind of go, like, what's next for us? Like a movie and then a soundtrack to a movie, I don't know where we're going to go, but I feel there's something really special about 6 a.m. and the fact that we don't really intend on touring. We just intend on being really in tune with the stuff that's happening with each one of us as people, and connecting with fans, and trying to maybe say something no one else has said.
You characterize the photos as honest. How would you characterize the record to somebody who hasn't heard the full album?
Well, the record is very honest as well. And there's a lot of the songs that you will be able to eventually go, oh, I see where they were going. I see the photos. I see this sort of tragic beauty, and I see this chapter, Lies the Beautiful People, is a chapter in the book. It is a song. And it's a message. There's many of those. Then there are those that stand on their own. One of my favorite songs on the album is "It Sure Feels Right," and it's a love song to Los Angeles. So I can get booed now, right? Because we're not in Los Angeles, but it's just the fact that I think as human beings, people will be able to relate to this song because it's really about just driving. The whole song takes place in the front seat of a car. And you're just driving, and you're trying to figure your life out, and that's what I was really digging deep during this record and this book, and just driving. And there's this moment where the sun just popped through the clouds, and it's just the song just kind of happened. And me and James and DJ were in this hotel, and we were writing this music, and we said, let's just write this song that is the best feeling song that we've ever written. Like, let's just step outside our comfort zone. It's purely a pop song. It's really amazing.
What a vocal too. What a voice he has.
The guy's voice is incredible. I don't know. I feel so honored to be able to be in a band with him. And he's such a great friend. He's such an honest guy, and he's always willing to take a chance too. And there's a song on the album called Goodbye Dear Friends, and I said, I want to write a song that's played at my funeral. And he goes, I just love you so much, you're so fucked up. And that's what the song is. It's the song that I think needed to be written. When you get to a place in your life where you go, the end is, you can see the end, So you realize that, so what do you want to say at that moment? And basically the song is, you basically say, I don't have anything to apologize for. So it's kind of a fuck you at the same time, But it's really a beautiful song.
Remember as a kid, we never really thought that there was an end. And then one day...
Well, you realize, right? And then you start to do things differently, and that's a really exciting part of this journey.
Is it through almost dying? Was it through the darkest periods that taught you that mortality is in fact a real thing, or was it something even deeper than that? When did you start waking up and saying, I'm so thankful that I'm still here, and it became a different perspective on life?
I think, I can only speak from my experience that it seems like it's unraveling the whole time. I don't know if you've experienced that, but things that I thought in the 20s and then into my 30s and my 40s, they actually change. And I believe that you can renegotiate where you're at in your life. And things that you believe in too sometimes can change. And maybe that's kind of part of the beauty. And as an artist, you're able to keep sort of evolving. And I look at Bowie and I see how he evolved as a musician and as his songs, like what was going on with him personally. And a lot of times people try to hold you accountable for change, and they say, well, how come you're not doing this? And I understand that. I do understand that. But it's just kind of part of human nature to change, I don't think you have to just hit a certain age and go, I'm done. I mean, I think if you look at great artists that are out there, they're still painting, doing photography, writing books, they're touring, they're writing music, and they do it into their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. They keep going. I mean, look at the Stones, and I just think that we're kind of in a really magical period. If we've survived that, imagine like what's in front of us.
It goes back to the whole beauty myth and what is beautiful. Just because somebody's 79 and has a few wrinkles doesn't mean he or she can't produce great art.
The wrinkles are the important part.
Show the smiles, show the pain, show the life. You talk about driving and having a lot of thoughts that inspire music. What about riding motorbikes? You're still riding, aren't you?
A little bit.
A little bit.
Not as much as I used to.
It's easier down there in the nice weather. What was the difference between the thought pattern of escaping on a motorbike versus being behind the wheel?
You know, I had this experience on a motorcycle about 10 years ago. I had a bike built for me, and the chain locked up. It was a hardtail, and I was doing about 50 miles an hour, and it just locked up on me. And it was this moment of, like, I realized there's this thing called pavement. And yeah, and it kind of, you know, I admit it kind of put a little bit of a damper on me riding as much as I used to, because I kind of realized, you know, I have 4 children, and I got a lot going on, so I think it's like skydiving's another thing, you know, sort of start to, maybe I'll put that on the back burner.
That's one of those things you do once, and if you survive, you go, oh, that's it.
Skydiving was one of the greatest highs I ever got. I loved it.
Did you do it more than once?
Well, yeah, I did like 4 times in one day because I'm an addict. and then I went, I should never do this again because I'll be that guy.
Yeah. You did a total free fall?
Well, you know, when you first start, you can't.
You
got to have somebody tandem, which was a little uncomfortable. A very large man.
You have to get a lady next time.
Kind of liked it.
You once said chicks equals trouble. How's that equation going for you now? Has it changed?
No, that, you know what? Let me just get a sip of water here.
There's a lot of chicks in this room, Nikki.
Yeah. I'm feeling like I better just what? Oh, Saved by the Bell. Oh, is that me?
Might be a chick.
So, next question.
If you don't deal with your demons, they will deal with you, and it's gonna hurt.
Yes.
You've dealt with a lot. You've slayed a few. Are there more to be slayed?
Well, this is the thing. I don't know, but I know that every day, you know, for me, it's like this thing where I'm always trying to become a better man, a better father, a better artist. I'm trying to put a lot of positive energy out there, and I'm trying to kind of change what the model looks like of being a rock star. You know, I still want to say fuck you, but at the same time, I want to do something really positive. Whether it's starting the charity we're helping a charity for runaway kids, because that's something that was dear to my heart, or stuff that's going to be coming in the future. I just want to keep evolving, and I don't really know where I'm going 100%. I'm going to just keep making music. I'm just getting started as a photographer. I can see myself getting into movies. Behind the lens in the future. I have so much creativity when I'm open about it. I think when any artist is open about it, it's there, you know. And so every little experience, everything that happens every day sort of gets accumulated into this bubble, and then it kind of pops and it turns into a song or an idea or a blog or something stupid I say on the radio, which is a whole interesting animal right there. I'm not sure. You were born why I'm still in the air.
You were born to talk on the radio. It seems like a natural thing for you. How are you enjoying it?
When we first started doing the radio show, I kept thinking every time I would talk that what I'm saying is being heard, and it's gonna stay out there like a song, right? So I write a song, and you have it, and you can listen to it anytime you want for the rest of your life, and it goes on and on and on. So I was thinking the same thing about radio, but you see, we're going so fast, and I couldn't really go, well, I'm not really sure about that chorus. It's like, it's done. It's like I said it. And I've said a few things that I went, oh, and it's too late. And what I realized about radio is kind of like giving birth, but to dust. Like, it comes out, and then it just dissipates. It doesn't turn into a living, breathing human being. So I'm able to then, at least that's how I figured out in my head, so what I'm able to do is not edit myself, not worry if I'm being cool, not worry if I'm being uncool, just do it. And I have such a great bunch of people around me, the writers and producers, and Carrie Kasem's a wonderful co-host, and we fight like cats and dogs, and I think that's just really, it's really something I love. I mean, I'm just really having a good time with it. I don't know what we're doing. But when I got picked up at the airport here, the guy picked me up and goes, I listen to your show every night. I go, what do you like about it? He goes, you guys make me laugh and make me realize that everything's just cool. Like life's just is all right. And it's like thinking that's a pretty cool thing to be able to do.
You talk about it, you know, being out there and gone the minute it's done. But everything's changed with video. I mean, this is being videotaped so that anyone that doesn't see it or wants to see it again, or your friends that can't be here, will be able to see this and explore music.
Yep.
It's kind of a game changer that everything you do is somehow out there in the ether, waiting to be discovered at some point, or waiting to be used against you. Is that a
Well, we
fear?
talked about this earlier, right? We were talking, came by the hotel room, picked me up, and we're talking about at concerts, a lot of times, people are just holding up their phones, and you look out and you see, you know, thousands of phones. And a lot of times I'll notice right in the front row, people are looking at their phone. They're not even looking at the performance. And it was weird, you know, I went to the Grammys, and when Mick Jagger came out, everyone was, including all the celebrities and musicians, they were all looking in their phones, and I'm going, fucking Mick Jagger is right there. I mean, I felt like stopping the show and saying, guys, look at this. It is part of what's going on, and it kind of is weird for me. I wish sometimes, I understand someone wants to capture a moment, and it's really beautiful that we get to do that. But at the other side of the coin is, from my side, okay, is I understand what you're getting out of it. You're getting to go to a show, you're getting to videotape some of it, you can send it to your friend back home that couldn't get tickets, or hey mom, check this out, whatever it is, it's cool. But sometimes we don't necessarily fire on all cylinders being a rock band. I think that's why people like rock bands, because it's not processed. So when we fuck up, everybody sees it. And it makes you a little bit uncomfortable. Like you think, well, maybe I shouldn't jump from that speaker to that speaker, because I don't want to be on YouTube as, you know, dumbass of the week that didn't make it. And it's true, I swear to God, I talk to other musicians, and they're like, yeah, I sometimes, you flub a note, it happens, but because there's like 10 people in front of you with their iPhone, you're going, oh my God, they just saw me do that, and then you keep fucking up. And it's this weird thing, so there's a good thing, and there's also that part of it. But that's what we talked about. You said, so one of your friends was saying it kind of freaks them out sometimes.
Yeah, you guys know Alex Lifeson from Rush. He has a club in Toronto called the Orbit Room, and every year on the anniversary, Alex goes and plays in his club. And years ago, it's always really great as a fan. But for him, I got the sense that it was so much fun, and now that everyone's, you know, they're kind of missing the moment. They're documenting the moment, but you're not really feeling the moment.
Yeah. So we're at this interesting place where we complain about technology. You know, I'm saying, you know, what's up with Facebook? At the same time, I'm using Facebook. You know, people are complaining about technology, or it sounds like I'm complaining about technology, but I'm not. I'm just bringing a point out. And where are we going with this technology and what's happening? I mean, people tell me they listen to the radio show on their phone, and they download pieces of the videos, the teasers we're putting out for 6 a.m. on their phone, and they follow me on Twitter on their phone. Everything's happening right here, so I'm really not complaining. I just don't know where we're going. It's kind of interesting. I hope we keep the human contact.
That's it too, because if you never see anyone and you just talk to them virtually, it's going to be a total game changer.
A friend of mine was
public.
telling me that she was dating this guy, and they literally would just text all the time. That's all they did. Text, no sex. And yeah. At some point she had to break up with him, because he'd be, I can't make dinner tonight, but you want to chat. And I think there's something, I do that with my kids. I go, you know what, let's put our phones down and let's go out and do something. Because I come from a time when I saw this happen, you saw this happen, but a lot of people don't know any other way. You know, that's etiquette, is to just text back and forth all the time and not have human contact. I hope we don't lose that, you know, in books and in art. I worry about it. I worry about it that the human experience is getting lost, you know, but I'm using technology at the same time. So I'm trying to change the way people see things by saying things that might inspire them to do better with their life. That's the way I'm using technology.
Things that you say include talking about the lies of the beautiful people. What really are the lies of the beautiful? Who are the beautiful people, and what are their lies? What bothers you about these so-called beautiful people?
Well, I was in my photography studio, and I was really isolated for a couple months, and it wasn't. I mean, I would literally go there and spend like 12 hours, and then go home and go to sleep. Take my kids to school, go back, do that, put them to bed, go back there. It was getting, my assistant was starting to go and worry about me because I was writing the book, and all I was doing was doing these photo sessions, and these people were coming through the doors of my studio at all hours of the night, and they were all kinds of people that you will see in the book. And I was so into it, and so into them. And then I stopped to get gas one day at this gas station, and there was a People magazine sitting there, and it said the 100 most beautiful people, and it just pissed me off. I was like, what? Like, who are you to say? And then and as I was writing my book, I just remember that I was so unpopular for being who I am now that is popular, and how that was a real problem for me. I really had a hard time being invited to the top clubs and to hang out with the beautiful people, when before I was mocked and made fun of. And that was part of my struggle when I was younger with fame. So I just thought to myself, well, you know, George Clooney's a pretty good looking guy, but I don't know him, so don't tell me he's beautiful. And Farrah, who's, I think is beautiful, who I shot, she weighs 350 pounds. She saw her mom shoot herself in her head, and her dad put her out to be a prostitute at 11. I know for sure she's beautiful. How come she's not on this list? You know, so. That's kind of where it started. And so then I started kind of judging, you know, people for judging people. And then I started going, well, now I'm being judgmental. So you can see how this book got long. And then I would start like, you know, arguing with myself in my own book. Which was interesting because, you know, I, as a man, have been married twice to what some would perceive as the beautiful people, and I have a very amazing girlfriend. She's one of the most fantastic people I've ever met, but I'm actually able to see inside. But some people have said to me, well, if you're saying this, how come you're doing that? And it's because I'm not saying that you're a good looking guy, so you're ugly. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that a beautiful person from the outside isn't beautiful. I'm just saying, let's not let society make that decision. Let's all feel good about ourselves equally, no matter what God gives you. Sometimes God gives you no legs. I've got to photograph the people who God gave them legs and then took them away. That to me was inspiring as a man who can ever find a reason to complain in my life. To this beautiful woman is like teaching soldiers when they come back from war that have lost limbs how to deal and cope with their life and how to be athletic on top of that. So this is the experience I was going through. Those were the experience I had as a kid, and then sort of it all bundled in with this photography, and then able to say, hey man, check it out. This is like where I'm coming from. I'm definitely not on a podium. I'm not looking down on anybody. In fact, I think I'm looking up at a lot of people and have a lot of respect for a lot of people, and I'm just trying to spread kind of a good message.
The book comes with a soundtrack, obviously, the music. You talked about not touring. You're in a fortunate position because a lot of bands today, the only way they can make a living in the post-Napster world is to actually go out and tour and do shows. How do you feel about the music business in terms of, is there anything good that's come out of everything that happened with the stealing? Because let's face it, the only thing that went wrong with the music industry at a high level is that people could steal the fucking music, right? Is that not it? they could take it without paying for it. We don't take cars at the car lot without paying for them, without going to jail.
We have, but
Well,
maybe you have. We stole a few things.
it's a game changer, though, and you're fortunate to have been on the other side of it and created a career that will sustain you without having to tour.
So we're all able to sit here together and go, wow, we're watching something happen. You know, maybe your grandparents saw a car for the first time. Some of us were around when cell phones happened for the first time. You know, we're seeing things happening in real time for the first time. And, you know, even all the way to the iPad, you know? Think about that 30 years ago. Think about where are we going to be in 30 years from now. I don't know with music how to really do anything more than inspire young bands to write better songs, to maybe buy some hair products. Personally, I don't know about you, but I'm really sick of looking at bands that don't scare me. They don't inspire me. They don't dress in any way that's interesting. They don't have anything to say, and they're boring. And I think it's sad. I think it's sad that that's okay. I think it's just become redundant and ridiculous. There are some good bands out there. There are a couple great bands out there. But I'm not seeing any new Metallicas. I'm not seeing any new Guns N' Roses. I'm not seeing any new Rolling Stones. Where's the new Steven Tyler? I'd love to meet him. I'd love to work with him. I'd love to see a band become the biggest band in the world again. And it just is, to me, I go to these festivals and the guys walk past me, and I know it's not all about looks, okay? I get that. But a guy walks past me and shakes my hand. I'm waiting for the band to go on stage, and then the guy walks on stage. And I thought it was the roadie.
It's tough to remember.
You just have to remember that, you know, I came from the 70s, and the 70s were about, people had style, they had flair. I mean, look at even some of those movies, like the whole pimp thing, you know, and the girls had flair and fashion and music were together. They were in bed together. And that to me is like, you know, we keep regurgitating bands that do this, but the songs were there too. So I'm like so passionate about trying to find a band that has that kind of passion, that wants to write those songs, they want to put on that show, and it's natural. It's natural, you know, it's not like, oh, okay, well, the new thing is this, and that's what we're gonna do. I know there's some garage bands out there right now that got a poster of the New York Dolls up, and, you know, one of Metallica at the same time, and they're gonna come out screaming, and we're gonna be so happy. And then, you know, what happens from there, we'll see.
The other side of the coin, a lot of the devil's advocate would say, yes, style's important, and a lot of bands were forgettable because they were forgettable, but bands that you were inspired by visually led to you and led to a lot of bands in the 80s. But the other side of the coin would be that there was a lot of bands that it was style over substance, not style with substance.
And that happens. You know, it happened in the 50s, happened in the 60s, you know. The Rolling Stones were even guilty of cutting their hair like the Beatles. And, you know, we've all seen those photos. You know, people start to follow trends. And so, you know, something's working. People like to be successful. Sylvia Rohn, who was the CEO, I'm not supposed to talk about her, but you know what? Fuck her. She took me in a meeting and she said, you know, if you would just cut your hair off like Metallica, we could make you more alternative, Nikki. That was the beginning of a very long lawsuit. But the fact is that person actually thought that. And you know, I just don't think that's a proper way to do photography. It's a proper way to do radio. It's a proper way to conduct yourself in life, is to just follow. You know, so whether you're at a disadvantage or at an advantage, I think that you just have to kind of dig in and find out what's working best for you and stick to your guns.
You mentioned Steven Tyler, and I remember years ago, you know, in your book, you described how you finally checked your answering machine back when we had those. Voicemail, old school voicemail. And
I miss those.
And there was Stevens just saying, you know, are you okay, man?
Yeah.
What do you think of his role and his performance so far on Idol?
I think that American Idol needed Steven Tyler, and we have an opportunity. Listen, this is a guy who can write songs, design sets, knows fashion. One of the world's greatest singers, performers. Who better to help find the next person that I just got done talking about than Steven Tyler? It's amazing. I mean, he really knows. I mean, if anybody knows.
It's been said that to come back from the depths that you faced, and that a lot of people probably in this room have faced, and you have to have a higher power. Are there many higher powers, or what is the higher power for you on a day-to-day basis? What keeps you on the ground, out of trouble?
I mean, you have to stay humble. Humility is everything. That's what I've learned in my time. And to be humble, you have to realize that someone's bigger than yourself. When you're a rock star, it's really hard for someone to put you in your place. My kids kick my ass. My dear friends kick my ass. And I try to stay as humble as I can, as often as I can. And sometimes, I gotta check myself because I start to get a little wordy, a little lectury. And in the end, I have to give it away. I have to give away what I'm learning, and I have to give it up to somebody that's actually running the show. And that to me is comforting. That to me is comforting, when I can just kind of go, let God take over. And I'm not like a Jesus guy. I actually make fun of Jesus so much on my radio show that I get hate mail. I just think he's funny, I'm sorry. And he was the first rock star. He had chicks, wine, had good hair, naked, and I'm going to hell.
You mentioned your kids. Let's dig in just a second. The age range of your kids.
Yeah. I always hate this.
Why?
Well, people go, how old are your kids? And I start, 10, and then 14. Everybody nods, and they go, or 15 now. Sorry, 16, and then 20. And they're like, that's not possible.
But you're only 32.
I know.
What's the toughest thing about being a dad?
The toughest thing?
Yeah.
Letting go.
How?
Just letting go.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with music, with everything. It's just like, that to me is my big life lesson. Letting go. Whenever I think I'm in control, oh man, it gets bad. Just gotta let go and just kind of follow your heart, follow your, things work out. People work themselves out. Situations work themselves out. When they're not supposed to work themselves out, they don't work themselves out anymore. Everything comes to an end.
George Harrison, and I think you probably relate to this, got into Hinduism in the 60s, became a vegetarian and so on, but the key message that I learned from him and thought you would kind of think it was cool is that everything happens when it should. You can't rush stuff. I mean, you have projects that you want to do, but they come when they're supposed to come.
Yep.
We're so glad that these projects have come now in your life. The book, the record, we wish you all the luck in the world. We know that you're going to tour with the crew again.
We are.
If you do, great.